Sai Ram. Dear students, welcome. Today we will read and learn the lesson My Vision for India. My Vision for India is a speech delivered by Dr A.P.J Abdul Kalam at IIT Hyderabad on 25th May 2011. In this speech, he explains his three visions for India. If it is to join the club of developed nations, he works to educate people about their responsibilities and encourages them to work together to develop a stronger India developed nation. So, see, normally on occasions such as Republic Day, Independence Day, we hear speeches made by the leaders of our country, and we are definitely inspired, encouraged, motivated to work harder for our country. That time we really feel that way. But are we really doing something for our country? So that's what Dr. A.P.J Abdul Kalam has given this speech to make us aware of our responsibilities as Indian citizens and encourages us to work together to develop a stronger India, to make India a highly developed nation. The objectives of this lesson are as follows. Let's read them. After completing this lesson, you will be able to appreciate the former President Dr. Kalam's vision for India, identifying an individual's role in India's development, use identical pairs of words having different meanings in sentences of your own, use modals appropriately, and write a descriptive paragraph. So these were the objectives of the lesson, and let us move on to the speech. So let's read the text. I have three visions for India. In 3000 years of our history, people from all over the world have come and invaded us, captured our lands, conquered our minds. From Alexander onwards, the Greeks, the Turks, the Mughals, the Portuguese, the British, the French, the Dutch, all of them came and looted us, took over what was ours. Yet we have not done this to any other nation. We have not conquered anyone. We have not grabbed their land, their culture, and their history and tried to enforce our way of life on them. Why? Because we respect the freedom of others. So Dr. Kalam says that he has three visions for India, and he says in 3000 years of our history, people from all over the world, from different countries like the Greeks, the Turks, the Mughals, the British, etc., they all came and they conquered our country. They looted our country and took over what was India's. But our India has not done this to any other nation. India has not captured their lands. It has not conquered them. It has not tried to enforce our way of life on the other nations. Why? This is because India respects the freedom of others. It respects the freedom of other nations. So his first vision is freedom. Freedom for India. Let's look at it. That is why my first vision is that of freedom. I believe that India got its first vision of this in 1857 when we started the War of Independence. It is this freedom that we must protect and nurture and build on. If we are not free, no one will respect us. So these are the words of Dr. Kalam, and he tells us that this first vision for India is that of freedom. And India actually got its first vision in 1857 when the War of Independence began. So he is saying that this freedom which India has got, we must protect, we must take care of it, and we must build on this freedom. If we are not free, if India is not free, nobody else is going to respect her. So when India is completely free in all areas, then India will definitely be respected as a developed nation. Let's continue. We have a 10% growth rate in most areas. Our poverty levels are falling. Our achievements are being globally recognized today. Yet we lack the self-confidence to see ourselves as a developed nation, self-reliant and self-assured. Isn't this incorrect? So Dr. Kalam is saying that already in India we have a 10% great growth rate in most of the areas, and this is a very healthy and positive sign. 10% growth rate is definitely a healthy and positive sign. And our poverty levels were very higher, much higher before, but now they are slowly they are decreasing, the poverty levels, which is also a very good sign. And the achievements of India among other nations are being recognized. So India's achievements are being globally recognized everywhere. But still the people of India lack the self-confidence to see India as a developed nation, to see that India is self-sufficient, dependent on her. Why is this? Because many people are running still after foreign technology, foreign goods, and foreign mobiles, foreign TVs. Why? When our own country is producing such very good products, we should be dependent on our own country's products. We must not run after other countries' products. His second vision is development. My second vision for India is development. For 50 years we have been a developing nation. It is time we see ourselves as a developed nation. We are among top 5 nations in the world in terms of GDP. So GDP is nothing but gross domestic product. So Dr. Kalam is saying that his second vision for India is development. For 50 years we have been called as a developing nation. India has always been treated as a developing nation for 50 years, but now it is time we moved forward and we started calling India a developed nation. And it is already, actually India is already among top 5 nations in gross domestic product, which is an excellent sign of progress. And his third vision for India is strength. Strength also means respect. When India has strength, it will naturally be respected. So he says, I have a third vision. India must stand up to the world, because I believe that unless India stands up to the world, no one will respect us. Only strength respects strength. We must be strong not only as a military power, but also as an economic power. Both must go hand in hand. Economic power refers to the ability of countries, businesses, or individuals to improve the living standards. It increases their ability to make decisions on their own that benefit them. So here we see that India must stand up to the world if it needs to be in the club of developed nations. And for that, what is important? We must have a good strong military power as well as a good strong economic power. So as of now, our military power is excellent. We have very good weaponry, we have very good warfare, but we have to build our economic power. And economic power, we see, it is just referring to the ability of countries, businesses to improve living standards. So when the living standards of a country increases, it increases the country's ability to make decisions on its own. And these decisions will definitely help the welfare of the country and also the welfare of its citizens. So both are important, and military power and economic power should support each other. My good fortune was to have worked with 3 great minds: Dr. Vikram Sarabhai of the Department of Space, Professor Satish Dhawan, who succeeded him, and Dr. Brahm Prakash, the father of nuclear material. I was lucky to have worked with all 3 of them closely and consider this the great opportunity of my life. My good fortune was to have worked with 3 great minds: Dr. Vikram Sarabhai of the Department of Space, Professor Satish Dhawan, who succeeded him, and Dr. Brahm Prakash, the father of nuclear material. I was lucky to have worked with all 3 of them closely and consider this the great opportunity of my life. So Dr. Kalam tells us that he has worked with these 3 great minds, and who were the 3 great minds? They were Dr. Vikram Sarabhai and Professor Satish Dhawan. They both were from the Department of Space, and also he worked with Dr. Brahm Prakash, who was the father of nuclear material. So When Dr. Kalam worked with these three great people, this progress of India was very fast at that time, and they were able to do a lot of things for the welfare of the country and also to bring it into a developed nation. They worked very hard together. And he also mentions that he was very lucky to have worked with all three of them. And also he considered this to be his greatest opportunity of his life, and also that he was very fortunate to work with them. Let's move on, students. And Dr. Kalam says, I was in Hyderabad giving this lecture when a 14-year-old girl asked me for my autograph. I asked her what her goal in life is. She replied, I want to live in a developed India. For her, you and I will have to build this developed India. You must proclaim India is not an underdeveloped nation, it is a highly developed nation. So Dr. Kalam is saying that when he was in Hyderabad and he was giving this speech, which I read to you, a 14-year-old girl came and she asked for his autograph. So at that time, Dr. Kalam asked that girl, what is your goal in life? And the girl replied that I want to live in a developed nation. How sweet. And a 14-year-old girl, imagine, she says that she wants to live in a developed country. Fantastic. So Dr. Kalam insists that we must build this developed India for her and for all of us together. And he also says that we must always think and act that India is a developed nation and work towards it. We must not think that it is an underdeveloped nation still. We have to think that it is a highly developed nation. And also, then he goes on to say, you say that our government is inefficient. You say that our laws are too old. You say that the municipality does not pick up the garbage. You say that the phones don't work. The railways are a joke. The airline is the worst in the world, and mail never reaches its destination. You say that our country has been fed to the dogs and is the absolute pits. You say, and say. What do you do about it? So, Dr. Kalam is telling us to awaken ourselves and stop blaming the government. Always the citizens are saying that the government is inefficient, it is good for nothing. And also he is saying that the citizens feel that the laws are very old, and they are saying that the municipality does not pick up the garbage, phones are not working, railways are not working properly, airlines don't work properly, and so many other things the citizens keep saying, and they keep blaming the government. But we see that when these same citizens go to a country like Singapore, they never throw garbage on the roads, they don't put cigarette butts on the road, they don't spit pans on the walls. But when the same citizens come back to India, they start throwing garbage on the roads and doing all that. That is not correct, definitely. So, when we are able to do that, when we are able to follow the laws and keep those countries clean, when we take responsibility for ourselves in those foreign countries, can we not do it in our motherland India? Definitely we should. So, we need to stop blaming the government and we need to be more responsible and act correctly. Dear Indians, I am echoing J.F. Kennedy's words to his fellow Americans to relate to Indians. So this is a quote which Dr. Kalam gave, and let's see what it is. Ask what we can do for India and do what has to be done to make India what America and other Western countries are today. So according to this quote, what does it mean? What is Dr. Kalam trying to tell us? He is saying that America and other Western countries are already developed nations. So we just have to, as responsible Indian citizens, we must ask, what can we do for India? And we must not just ask the question, we must also do what is necessary to make it a highly developed nation, to make it a developed nation to come to and reach the level which America and Western countries are at today. And now we bring to you a few points about our beloved president, former president, Dr. Abul Pakir Jainul Abdul Kalam, his full name. So let's look at the points which we have brought for you. Became the 11th President of India, serving from 2002 to 2007 and was popularly known as the People's President. Spent most of his childhood in financial problems and worked at an early age to supplement his family's income. An inspirational figure among the masses, he is immensely loved and adored by the children of India. His clean image and ability to inspire the youths in India made him the Bharat Ka Paryavaran ambassador for change. So we see here that he was the 11th President of India from 2002 to 2007, and actually at a very young age he faced many financial problems. So he had to start working at a small age to help his family. And also he is a great inspirational figure among the people. Why? Because his ideas are so unique, so simple, and also any common man also can relate to his ideas. So that is why his clean image and his ability to inspire the young generation in India made him the Bharat Ka Paryavaran ambassador for change, because he not just told but he also did a lot for our country India. What you have learned. So this is a very important, we've just brought some important points for you which we have learned from this lesson, from my vision for India. Let's look at it. We must be proud of India. We as Indian citizens are responsible for making India as one of the leading developed nations in the world. We need to take individual as well as collective action instead of blaming the government for everything. We need to rely on our country's products and not run behind foreign goods. So these are the lessons we have learned from Vision for India. We must be proud of our motherland India, and as Indian citizens we must be responsible for making India a developed nation. And also we must take individual as well as collective responsibility instead of blaming the government, and we need to rely on our country's products and not run behind foreign goods. So we have to be dependent on our own country's product, and that's how we can make India free. We can make her self-sufficient and self-dependent. So keep smiling, keep improving. Thank you.